Hey guys, thanks as always for watching the channel. Marc Maron has no idea what's happening, I feel like, right? Do you know what we're doing here?
You are?
Yeah, okay. Enjoy the conversation with Marc Maron and subscribe, like, do all the things that Marc doesn't know.
Oh, you're Josh.
Oh, gosh.
Hey guys. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. I'm Josh Horowitz. I'm the host of Happy, Sad, Confused. This is a live taping of my podcast yes, thank you. I appreciate it. So this is obviously a 92 NY event, but we're here at the Museum of Modern Art. I feel so classy tonight, guys. This is amazing. A very meaningful place for me and a meaningful chat tonight. The gentleman I'm speaking with, look, I do a lot of interviews, and mostly I interview filmmakers and actors, and I'm a little intimidated because I've been listening to WTF forever, and I don't know if I would be doing my podcast without Marc Maron's podcast. He, of course, is a brilliant stand-up comedian. He's a fantastic actor. We're going to talk about that as well. He has a new stand-up special on HBO Max that we're going to talk a bit about tonight. It's fantastic. It's called From Bleak to Dark. Let's give a warm, not only a 92 NY welcome, but a Museum of Modern Art welcome to Mr. Marc Maron. He's sizing you up. Can you feel it? Look at him. Is this what you always do? You're just like...
Not quite. I mean, I don't come out like that. But I just talked to you downstairs. I already sized you up.
Yeah. And he's still here.
See what's up in here.
Yeah. Good vibes all around.
I'll be the judge. It feels good, yeah.
Thanks for doing this, Marc.
Sure, man. You got a plan?
Not really. Not really. What do you do, Marc Maron? What's your occupation now? When someone doesn't know what you do, when you're at customs, when someone asks you and is ignorant of the body of work, what do you say nowadays?
I generally say I'm a stand-up comic still, but sometimes I just say I'm a song and dance man.
That's when you were growing up. That was the dream, right?
Like sometimes I've said, depending on who I'm talking to, I've said I'm an entertainer, which is ridiculous. But usually I say comic.
Yeah.
And then they go like, really? From what? Where would I know you from?
And then it becomes a horrible interrogation back and forth.
I have to take my phone out and show them clips.
Look, I can honestly say the last dozen years, outside of the voice in my own head, I've probably heard your voice in my head more than any other.
How's that going?
A lot of
Welcome to my head.
I feel like you owe me money. You owe me something for the psychic damage.
Now. It's happening right now, Josh. This is what you get.
Yeah, well, okay, that's fair. Do you feel like there is that intimacy when people encounter you? Do they feel like they know you on a cellular level that is uncomfortable?
Yes. Some people, you have to deal with that a lot. I mean, addressing parasocial relationship is something that I'm highly aware of. You know, I mean, there are people that understand the relationship because, you know, I know I'm candid and I know I speak, you know, openly about a lot of stuff. And I know that people like you have a relationship with me that is relatively intimate. But I do have, you know, 23 hours in the day without you.
But that's not the meaningful part.
No, I think most people that have known me for years know that it's one-sided, but I've grown to be, you know, gracious around that. Some people, I found it a little odd during the pandemic when I was doing a lot of Instagram lives, where I really got the sense that there were people that thought, like, because I'm just on their phone, that we're FaceTiming. Right. And
nope.
And it could get a little weird sometimes. So I've grown to be careful around that stuff, and also to try to maintain some boundaries, there's people in here that you know, when you do Instagram lives, it got to a point where I knew some of the people who would show up every day. And, you know, Monica's here, which is nice. And,
Amazing.
But like her and I don't know her. She's a fan, right? So So what happened, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, but but at one point, if you're reading comments while you're doing your Instagram Live and you get an idea of somebody else, they know me from what doing that, but they say something, I misunderstand it, and then I probably texted her, it's like, you don't fucking know me, and then I felt bad that I hurt her feelings, and now we know each other by name, and I know her husband kind of, so. And that's not, it's nice, but I don't want a lot of that.
Right. Little goes a long way, Monica. We love you. Speaking of boundaries, you do.
Good luck with that.
You do seem like an open book, seemingly.
Oddly, to strangers, to people I've known for years, they're like, "What's in there?"
It's still an enigma.
Not really. No, I do have boundary problems, but I think you know what's going on. I'm an open book, but that doesn't mean you get all the way in, right?
Right.
It's a book, but there's the middle section where you're like, I'm not sure I got that.
Right.
Yeah.
You get access to the smoked meats, but not the rest of it. We know you love that.
I think you get access to a lot of it, but just be careful.
Okay.
Not you. You can do what you need to do.
We both have a job to do.
Yeah, we do. Are you getting enough out of this so far?
It's so good.
Okay.
So good. It's living the dream.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So before we get to the special, we're in New York.
We're gonna watch the special?
Yeah, if you want. Easier on both of us, right?
Yeah, right.
Turn it on.
Mm-hmm.
New York, an important place to you and your growth as a comedian and your career.
Sure.
Also, not the best times here also, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, in terms of the battles with sobriety, etc.
How fucked up was I here? Yes, there was definitely some years where because I was in and out of sobriety for a long time.
Right.
But I did finally get sober for good here as well.
Oh, okay.
Right. But when I first moved here in '89 from Boston, I don't think I was quite sober yet. Wait, there's...
Now we're getting somewhere, yeah? Okay, we have time.
Well, I just remember, I was down on the Lower East Side, on Second between A and B in 1989. And I was sober for about a year, and it was like this, there's a whole heroin operation down there. It was crazy. They had the whole street under control. They had guys on each side, and there was a doorway right next to where I lived, where junkies would line up like it was a movie theater to score bags of dope. And I used to see it and I'd be like, God, that is so sad that these guys are, tethered to this horrible drug. And I'd see the same people every day. But it is kind of funny to see, 20 junkies dispersed like nothing's happening. If the guy whistles at the end of the street and they're like, oh, I'm just hanging out, So. But the point being, so I watched that for a year and a half as a sober person. And then at some point, the day came where I'm like, I wonder what's in that doorway. So it didn't take, but, it was a vomit-filled evening. But I tried. So there was, a lot of in and outs. And I definitely ran around drunk here for a couple years on and off. But ultimately, I did get sober in New York. And the heart of my sobriety is in New York.
So what is New York to you now?
Yeah. Shout out to Perry Street. Okay. That's where I go, man. It's I'm sorry, I'm breaking my anonymity, but there's this old
boundaries, Mark. We're trying to help you.
No. There's this old ass AA clubhouse down on Perry Street, and anybody who's gotten sober here ever for the last 30 some odd years has been to that place. And it's this, it's frozen in time. And if I do come, I will go, I'll go sit in there sometimes. Yeah.
It's amazing.
There's always a meeting. You're I wonder if there's a meeting.
Yep.
You just go to Perry Street, there's sad people in there.
It's like a 7-Eleven. It's just always open.
It kind of is.
Yeah. The last special, correct me if I'm wrong, was End Times Fun, I believe,
You're
right?
Correct.
So do you feel like you were prescient? You were ahead of the curve. Congratulations. You knew the end was coming.
Yes.
And now we are living in the, aftermath, or just still the
According
the
to the woman who reviewed me in Vulture today, and she did a very good job with it. This special's the post-apocalyptic Maron. This is post-end of the world. So we're living in post-end times now. It happened. We just didn't feel it as much as we thought we would.
Yeah, it didn't sting as much. Just went right through us.
It was kind of one day it was it's a little different. Yeah, over.
Yeah. So what is the threat level matrix in your head right now? What DEF CON are we at in terms of...
For me personally or for the world?
Oh, boy.
Well, something something is shifting, you know, in my being. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or what, but like I'm giving less and less of a fuck about the world. Because like I think, you know, I've gone through a lot of panic. I'm not sure I'm gonna like I might be here for the fascism.
Right.
But I think I'll get out before the climate meltdown.
Right,
So
the
that's-
sweet spot.
That's that's as optimistic as I can be.
Right.
I don't know. Like, you know, I'm 59. I'm not planning on going anytime soon. But like, it seems like a certain type of governmental situation that's, you know, disconcerting and hopefully, you know, not full bore, you know, get on the train time. But like there's some part of me that's like has a little faith in the federalist system. That's sort of like my state, they won't have trains, right?
Right.
So.
Right. Just Marc Maron, a beacon of hope for all of us. It's great.
But I mean, I consider that type of, you know, for whatever it's worth in terms of how I do comedy, like there is in this special, you know, the first 20 minutes are what I believe my role is as a cultural critic or satirist or whatever. There is a type of comic that I've always done, I've always aspired to, that is really the first 20 minutes of this, which is broader cultural commentary, where I talk about fascism, where I talk about Roe v. Wade, where I talk about things in a broad sense, so it lasts a bit, but I don't think any of those things are going away.
Right. Feels a little Carlin-esque, like I would
guess
say,
so.
right?
You know, he was never really my guy, but I seem to be compared to him at times.
Yeah.
I think that ultimately the special shifts into the personal,
Sure.
and then into the tragic, and then sort of back into sort of where I'm at currently. I'll take the Carlin thing, but I don't think Carlin showed a lot of himself.
No, that's true.
And I think, you know, he was, you know, very by the book, a very scripted act. I'm not saying I don't like him, but I don't mind the comparison. Look at me, like, don't ever say I'm like George Carlin.
Sorry, I compared you to one of the greats.
Yeah, don't ever compare me to one of the best comics. Yeah. The point being, I know I had a point. In terms of like the future where I'm at now and what's happening.
Between fascism and climate, the end of times.
You were talking about being prescient and all this stuff, and you know, I guess I was, but here's what, in terms of safety and what I think about, you know, where I'm at now, is that I know I'm doing material that is going to be, you know, deeply offensive to a certain type of person in this country that are relatively dangerous. Right. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, that I'm necessarily, they're going to watch the whole thing and be like, all right, let's get this guy. You know, I would and there's something kind of narcissistic about the idea where I'm like, I don't know, I might get killed after this one. So, but there's definitely stuff in there that if I've got it right, people are going to be like, this is one of them, and, you know, put them on the list, right? If I'm not already on the list. I remember one time when
well, they say if you can affect one person.
Yeah. I remember one time there was you know, when I was at Air America, it was before whatever's happening now was happening as shamelessly and as normalized. And there was this website of a guy who had just, he had made a list of all the Jews in Hollywood, you know, the celebrities. And it was an anti-Semitic sort of like, these are the ones. And I pushed my producers, I said, if we can just really show this guy just how much these people have accomplished, I think I can change his mind. And so we got this creep on the phone, and I was like, do you understand what Einstein did? You know, like that kind of thing.
How'd that work out?
It didn't turn him. Oh. It was a very uncomfortable segment, but I put myself out there, Josh. That's the important thing.
Yeah. Way back when, did you have? Did you try different personas, different approaches to comedy? If I had,
you're assuming like I had much more control over my performance.
There was no like suspender Mark. There was no like Gallagher with a watermelon Mark. There was no prop comic Mark.
You know, there definitely wasn't those. But it's odd because I've watched, over the years, I think my first TV shots were in like 89, Evening at the Improv, and I did a couple of those in 89, 91, and maybe Caroline's Comedy Hour. There's a lot of basic cable that needed to be filled with short stand-up sets.
Right.
And in 89, I'd only been doing stand-up professionally maybe about a year and a half, but I'd been at it for a few years. So when I watch that, I can see myself still. Like, there were times where I was angry, and I think if there was a spectrum, there was a period where I thought that my premature bitterness was not appealing necessarily, but I really thought when I was in New York in the late 80s or whenever it was, mid 90s, and I was down there at Luna Lounge, yelling about this or that I really thought that like I was speaking for everyone. And if you didn't think I was speaking for you, you just have to go deeper. That everybody has got to be as mad and and self-centered and as immature as me. And that I'm backloading that, but they aren't, and so it wasn't so much personas; they were all manifestations of. I think what I'm getting at is that my sense of self was never that well structured, because of how I was parented. So. So I kind of had to put it together on my own.
Right.
It's true, and I figured this out later. So these were really all attempts at being myself. I don't think I ever got into stand-up to entertain people. I thought there was a way to get at some sort of truth up there, and that if you could figure it out, you could be exactly who you are. It's a weird perception, but oddly, my friend Tom Sharpling, I did a show the other night, and he said to me. He said, this special is really as close to who you are as I've ever seen it, as close to who you are when we're just talking. And I'm like, I finally did it. I found myself.
So this special came out of an insane period of time, clearly. Early in the pandemic, you lost a loved one, the great Lynn Shelton.
Yes.
And you deal with it in this special, and that's that's fraught. That's territory that you gotta be careful about. Could you have conceived of not dealing with that in the special? Did you give that thought? Was it like, how can I get back and deal with what I'm dealing with without addressing it?
I don't know. I don't know if I could have conceived of not doing it in the special, because it was, I'm a public person. She was a public person. Yeah. So like, there was part of me that really didn't want people to be like, no, that's sad. Don't bring it up. Do we bring it up? And I'm like, I didn't want to be that person.
Right.
And to have it just sitting there, and I guess on some level it would have been more appropriate just to not talk about it publicly. It's tricky because in the special I address that, like, what would she think of this? And in my life over time I've learned that talking about other people is dicey, because most of the time, like whether it be a girlfriend or personal people in my life, that they can't respond. Generally, they don't have a platform. There's not like a competing podcast of my exes.
Don't give them ideas, Mark.
I know. Yeah. I'm not suggesting it. Just a podcast called "We Fucked Him." So it's got a rotating crew,
5 seasons greenlit. It's endless.
Yeah. We're gonna need a new cast. No problem. But Lynn's dead, and like she certainly can't engage with how I handle it. And I also think about her family, who I don't really know that well, because we weren't together publicly long enough for us to really establish it. So I don't know, man. When I talked about it on the podcast, like days after, like that was the hardest choice. Is that it was some weird commitment to the honesty of whatever the podcast was. Like Brendan and I, my producer, the understanding we had, the only understanding we had at the beginning of the thing was that we were going to do a new episode, every Monday and Thursday, no matter what. And we have. It's odd. We're weird, but we do it. No vacations with him and I. You're welcome. And that weekend was it was all terrible, dude. I'm on the phone with him and he's like, we don't have to do anything ever again. We don't have to do any more shows. Right. You certainly don't have to do one Monday. And I was like, but this is the real shit here. And it wasn't really selfish. I didn't feel like going on that day to do what we usually did, which was post a posthumous episode as a remembrance, But I decided to do it because I thought the rawness of whatever I was experiencing, which was awful, and I've not listened to it since I did it, would somehow be a service. Like I wasn't looking for love or support. I just thought well, this is what we do, so let's do it. And I think it was an okay decision, but it must have been horrendous to listen to. But oddly, it wasn't. A lot of people were like, thanks for sharing that. And I'm like, okay. But in terms of the stand-up, I don't know. It just seemed like it seemed like it had to be talked about because there's just no dialogue around that. The one thing about COVID, and I imagine there's people in this room, especially here in New York, that probably lost people to COVID, for fuck's sake. And it's just like, you're isolated, and I think you're isolated in grieving without COVID in a way, but you're more isolated, with COVID, and you're processing this thing. There's nothing more human than dying, and there's really nothing more human than experiencing grief among other people. But everyone's so terrified to die that the conversation around grief is just sort of like, don't remind me. So. Right. Really, and I think that's the core of it, right?
Yeah. Don't remind me of my own mortality.
That's right.
Yes.
So I thought, well, this is not I'm not choosing to do what I did around that as this will be a great entertaining thing for people. I think there was a way to process it, publicly with enough heart and ultimately the humor caught up. But I thought again that sharing this in a way. And I've said it before in interviews that the reason that I gravitated towards comedy when I was younger was that these guys were able to take almost anything and make it, emotionally, intellectually, and humorously manageable. Yeah. I mean, that's the gift of it. Is that are you terrified? Are you angry? Are you sad? Are you lost? Well, here's a little funny. To shine a little light on that and compartmentalize it in your brain in a different way. So that was the gift, right? That's the gift. So but beside that, it wasn't like I was sitting here like, I'm here to help the world. It was like, I'm going to have to address this somehow. And for the first, few times, because I write on stage where it's a process with me. And people who witness that, once I'm doing theaters, it's already in some sort of shape. But the shows I was doing were 2 hours long, some of them. But at the beginning, when we came out of the pandemic and I started working on this stuff, I was doing a residency at a small black box theater, which is why the idea of it keeps coming up. It's a through line of the special, the one-person show thing. So, but I would have fans come, with a reasonably priced ticket. It was a little less reasonable than usual, but my agent's kind of whatever. So, it's one thing. Initially when I did those kind of shows, it was a workshop, and then somewhere when somebody gets involved that's making money off you, it's like an intimate evening with. Right. So, fine line,
Yep. About $20 at least.
Exactly $20. And. But as I was going through that stuff, what I do is I'll put myself in a position to be discussing things about my life that I think there's something there that, I'll get to the core of it. And then because I'm in front of you, that I will find funny. That's the process. Right. I'm not, I don't write a little math problem joke, where it's sort of let's see if this tag works. It's got to be delivered to me. So, during that process, like, I was crying. I couldn't handle it, talking about it, but I knew because of Instagram Live and some other things that the fans that were there for that. And the process of discussing loss in and of itself is cathartic for people. So that was like, there's that point, that horrendously beautiful joke about, visiting her body, which is, it's horrendous, but it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like when I finally released the tension with the punchline, I would look at audiences, and some of them were like, "No, why'd you have to ruin the nice sad thing?"
We were so close.
We really were. We were right there at the emotional. It was like, no. Yeah. So, but the process unfolded in that. I think that most of the stuff that I did around it, like the hummingbird thing in and of itself, which is a real thing, because when you're shattered in grief, you're looking for continuity, even if it's kind of mystical or spiritual, whatever. So it was a real thing to believe that her energy, she was now a hummingbird. So that in of itself is a beautiful sentiment, and it's kind of sad, but it could operate on its own as a story one would tell publicly, and people would be like, but then, when I found certain ways to call back the birds in a comedic way, you don't lose the poignancy of it, but you add this other layer, so there's this odd balance that starts to happen. But in retrospect, I start to think Marc, are you really emotionally dealing with any of this shit? I don't know. I believe I am, and certainly with the grief I am, because the bottom line about comedy is it's a good way to keep people the fuck out. You know what I mean? It's a good way to hijack emotions and kind of take them in another direction or throw them off to somebody else and just kind of divert the experience of full feeling. So, I don't know.
But it's still in there. Everything you just said is exactly that. It's
I'm
it's
trying
there.
to dismantle it publicly and make myself doubt my work. It's okay. Go ahead.
That's right.
Well, guys, I don't know about you, but these cold winter nights make me appreciate all the more a product like Boll and Branch. These sheets are keeping me warm and cozy all winter long with a set of their buttery soft sheets. They're made with 100% organic cotton threads that get softer with every wash. And they come in a variety of great colors. My wife and I love this product. The sheets feel great. They look great. They make great gifts. It just checks all the boxes. Plus, these sheets are designed to feel incredible for every kind of sleeper. And they're made without toxins. They're free from pesticides, formaldehyde, and other harsh chemicals. And these sheets fit the deepest of mattresses and labeled with top and bottom tags, so making your bed is easier than ever. They come in 10 versatile colors in all sizes, from twin up to California king. And best of all, Boll and Branch gives you a 30-night risk-free guarantee, guys. Free shipping and returns on all U.S. orders. What more do I have to say? How important is sleep to you and your loved ones? It's everything to me. That's what Boll and Branch can mean to you. So make the most of bedtime with Boll and Branch sheets. Get 15% off your first order when you use promo code HSC at bollandbranch.com. Exclusions apply. See site for details. That's Boll and Branch, BOLLANDBRANCH.com. Promo code HSC.
I want to talk a little bit about acting and the podcast and how they kind of interact, because it feels like, whether by design or not, you've had this amazing seat at an acting class for the last dozen years.
1 second. The other thing is...
I'll just go. Let me know when you're ready for me, okay?
Yeah, I will. Is that the thing about what happened in the special and what happens is that the thing about grief, and I do believe that I've said it before, is that it's I don't think it's necessarily wrong to manage grief with whatever you need to manage it, if it's not, full kind of repression of it. Because it is an active thing and it lives in you. So once you experience it, you have to regulate it somehow. And I believe that is sort of what's going on up there. And I think it's much better than stuffing it all. but to sort of let it happen. Like, just the other night, man. I mean, I don't know why. I was in the hotel the night before last, and I was going over, that last day I had with her, and I was going over it beat by beat. I couldn't stop it. And I think there's some investigation of like, what happened that day. There's no whys or anything, but your brain will do it, and you just have to let it happen, and cry or whatever you need to do, as long as it's not like, what did I do wrong? What could I have done? Anyway.
Well, no, I mean, it's also, there's also this bullshit thing of closure. Like, it's not like you've just dealt with this and it's like over now.
Closure is death.
Right.
The closure's coming, man.
Yeah.
It's like, everything else is integration.
Yeah. Yeah. Acting.
Yes.
Give me one concrete acting tip you've gotten from just like interacting with these greats over the last dozen years. Like, do you actively try to absorb?
Well, yeah.
something?
Once I started acting, I was clearly asking all of them.
Yeah, I noticed. Yeah.
I'm just starting with this thing. Like, so give me, like I was talking to Paul Dano about animal work,
right?
But more, which is like just something I knew from college. You're like, do you do animal work? And he was like, I do a little bit. I'm like, oh, really?
Jackpot.
Yeah. But I'm not going to do animal work.
I mean, now's the time.
It's not going to happen for me. I get it, But I think that the truth is like half of these actors between you and me, they're just getting away with something. Seriously. I mean, either you got it or you don't. You know what I mean? And a lot of them, get a knack for it. And I think that when you're talking, especially like kind of movie star stuff, I think that like 85% of it is just natural talent. And you don't know why someone fits on a screen. And these guys, they learn how to do a thing and whatever. The deeper actors, like, when you talk to them, they can't really explain anything. Right. You know what I mean? They're not acting teachers because they made it. So.
Ouch, but true. Yeah.
So. They don't know exactly what it is. There's no system, but some of them do. They do have things they do, and sometimes they'll tell me what they are. But most of it just seemed like, be present, listen. Some people are into making choices, which I think is smart, to make choices before you enter a scene. Don't just be there sort of like, I got no plan, So, but I think it was mostly something that, it was the act of the podcast is just to empathetically listen and to be present for the thing,
right?
Because if you're just running lines, which you'll feel happen, especially when you're doing TV or whatever, and I'm no veteran of this stuff, but you repeat something enough, where are you going to find the juice?
Right.
And then ultimately they'll be like, we're going to use that one. I'm like, I was asleep during that one. And they're like, it read well. And I'm like, yeah, I must be a real actor then. So.
Do you still feel imposter syndrome at this point? Because like now, like, it's not like it's not a novelty anymore. Like now you have like a real acting career with a variety of roles and different kinds of things, from Glow to Joker to your own show.
I don't know if I don't know if I ever felt imposter syndrome, but I felt like it wasn't my job.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's different. Like, because, stand-ups will act, and it was always something I wanted to do, but, you're an actor when it's your job. Right. Like, it's the same with stand-up. If someone's a stand-up because, they did 3 open mics, and, they're doing another one, they're like, I'm a comic. I'm like, do you do the job? You got to do the fucking job.
Right.
So for me, it was like, I did it, and I sucked. I mean, I did my own show, The Maron, and I knew from having friends in comic sketch shows that I was going to suck for a while. It was like Jim Norton. He says, because I had the same experience. Like, a lot of times when you're starting as an actor, you're like, all you're thinking is like, what do I do with my hands?
Right.
So, and you're never thinking about your hands,
yeah.
But like when you're in a scene, you're like, just sitting here. But I knew it would be bad, but I knew that I was playing myself, and I knew that I would figure it out, at least how to be on set and stuff. But with To Leslie and with respect, I was making choices. I was doing things that I learned from the guys I talked to, playing Wexler, in respect. You know, I studied what little footage there was about him to get that accent, and you know, doing a Brooklyn Jew is not a stretch. You know, if you are an East Coast Jew, all the dialects live within you. So they're just right there, you know. So
it's a miracle. He's a chameleon.
You're telling me. So
how was the audition for James Cameron, Avatar? You met with James Cameron.
That was ridiculous. Why the fuck would I want that job, number one? So, look.
Set the scene for me. Give me a little bit.
What the scene was like, you know, you drive out to to Long Beach, where he owns Long Beach. And you know, look, he's not a bad guy. You know, I don't think. I don't know. But you know, but you go out there and you go in this office and they're like, you know, I want you to read for this part. I don't even remember what it was. You know, it was like a doctor or a scientist who drank. I don't know. I think the guy from Flight of the Conchords got it.
Oh yeah, Jermaine.
Jermaine, yeah. So good. So like, you know, but there's this assumption, like, you know, we're going to do 4 Avatar movies. I'm like, dude, I don't even remember the first one. I don't know what this all means to the world, but he had built a city down there, and he had people working and doing acrobatics there all the time. There were tight ropes and cameras and people flying and stuff. It was like Cirque du Soleil down there. So you go in and he gives you the script. He's like, can I have your, you know, you can't take a picture of this. You can't, you know, this doesn't leave the building, this script. I'm like, okay, man. He's like, go take a look it over, because, you know, you're here. You might as well just read for this today. I'm like, okay. So I go in the other room, and he's got like, the only cool thing about auditioning for James Cameron, he's got sort of like a museum of James Cameron. Right. Like, there's a room there where you could see like the Titanic model and like some other stuff from the other movies.
Big fan. Yeah.
And you're like, this is kind of cool. So that was how you did the thing. All right. So I go read the script, and I kind of like, and then all of a sudden you're in this free zone with these people that he just has around down there to read parts and fly and be on dollies or whatever. So I'm on camera, I think. And, you know, I got a picture, whatever the fuck it is, a boat or whatever, and then there's other people around. So I'm just in the middle of this thing I'm totally untethered. I have no sense of character. I don't know really what's happening around me, other than there are several, you know, just unidentified actor people and acrobats around me.
And you didn't get the part. Shocking. You knew so much.
Thank God. Because, like, you know, my agent, here's the fucked up thing about me and acting. It's like, I don't like being away from home. You know, it's not my bag. If you want to act, you know, these guys are sort of like, yeah, I got to go to Morocco for 6 months. I'm like, I'm out. You know what? I'm out. Yeah. Like, I got anxious just thinking about being there a week.
Right.
You know, what am I going to eat?
Right.
So, but that was the thing, like, you know, because like you go down there and you're almost in a contract when you go down there. And my agent, who was an old timer at that time, that guy, he's quit being an agent, but he was great. He's like, you're probably going to go to New Zealand for 4 years. And I'm like, or whatever the fuck it was, like some ridiculous amount of time. You're going to have to go to New Zealand, you know, for you know, a while.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not happening. And I have no problem with it. I had nothing invested in it other than the experience of like, all right, I'll go take the meeting.
Right.
And then he sent me a box of cigars because he didn't cast me. And I'm like, that's okay, that's nice.
That's a win, yeah.
It's all right, you know, like, I don't know, man. All right,
so we're
at this age, I'm like, I have no problem saying no. Seriously.
So we're going to cross James Cameron off the list of filmmakers right now.
Yeah.
Speaking of filmmakers, okay, here's a geeky...
But how much was Jermaine even in it?
Not that much. Not that much.
Like, I would have had to go to New Zealand for a year.
You'd still be there.
And people would be like, I didn't... Were you in it?
Right. Can someone buy me and Mark 2 tickets to Avatar tonight? We're going to go at 10 o'clock.
And you'll be like, there, New Zealand? Yeah.
Okay, speaking of film...
And he lives in New Zealand. It was good. It was good. He had family there. It was a no-brainer.
What happened to the David Fincher episode of WTF? You taped.
I have it.
No, but you never released it.
Yeah, because he's a weirdo.
Okay. That's it.
No, I mean, what do you want to know? Like, I talked to him for 2 fucking hours, and he's like, yeah, I feel like, we're not finished. And I'm like, okay. So like, but it's, what's happening?
These are going to be questions. It's okay. It's okay. They've got questions for you, Mark. You okay?
Yeah, I'm all right.
You don't seem okay.
No, it's just generally, like, in my experience, when someone rushes on stage in the middle of a show, it's not a welcome event. Even though I saw that woman backstage, it seemed nice. The David Fincher episode is just there. I've talked to Brendan about releasing it, but like it's one of those things where there's nothing wrong with it. He's just kind of an odd guy that I think he just overthought it, and he's like, maybe we could do more or whatever. But for me, it's just sitting there. And I think we were going to reach out to see if we could release it without reprisals of some kind, as a bonus episode or something. We'll see. I don't know who we got to, because it was like, it gets set up through a publicist, and it's just funny that those conversations where, we're like, oh, just to put it up as the bonus episode. We got the bonus episode stuff now. And Brendan's like, I don't know, I got to reach out to the publicist that set it up, and we'll see. And then he's like, I don't even know if they're there anymore. I'm like, well, then let's just do it. What's the worst that could happen? I don't get into David Fincher movie? That hasn't happened yet. It's probably not going to happen. So let's do it. But what are we done with the acting part?
We should mention To Leslie, which is a fantastic film and a great performance.
Well, that's what I want to talk about.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because the To Leslie thing, in terms of like me acting and people thinking I'm a good actor, which is fine, I felt like I'm doing the work, which I was getting at with Wexler, was that making choices. But like, it was so funny because I've told this story like so many times, and it does not get the laugh where I want it to.
But we're going to go for it again? We're going to do one more time? Okay.
Yeah. So
commitment.
But I don't know what it takes. I didn't want to do that movie, dude. Like I was sad. It was in peak COVID, right? And I get this call from my manager, and they're like, "This guy wants you to do this movie." I'm like, "What is it?" And they send me the script. I'm like, "There's like a dozen dudes that I could name who could play this guy. What does he want me for? Because it was not me. This guy was.
No, yeah.
Yeah. And I just didn't believe the guy really wanted me. I was sort of like, who doesn't want to do this? Everybody. So. But then the guy enlists, Chelsea Handler, who I know and I'm afraid of. And Chelsea Handler texts me, and she says, my friend Michael, and I don't even think they're friends anymore, but she says, my friend Michael wants to talk to you about doing this movie. And I'm like, I don't want to upset her. So I'm like, all right, okay. So then Michael gets on the phone with me, and he's like, I love you. I love your work. I loved, Maron. I'm like, this guy's doing it, and he's talking good. Like, yeah, like the last season of Maron, like, oh, he's nailing this shit. So then he's like, Sword of Trust, the movie I did with Lynn. He's like, oh, thank you. It's a great movie. It's fun. Yeah, it was something. And he's like, I want you to do this. And I'm like, all right, but I can't do an accent, man. He's like, don't worry about the accent. I'm like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, I just want you to do the part. I'm like, okay. And then like I sat with it, and I realized like, if I'm gonna do this acting thing, dude, you're gonna have to try to do an accent, And I just interviewed James Caan, and because of that, I'd watched all his old shit, and there's an old ass James Caan movie called Rain People, which was Coppola's first movie that not many people have seen. And he plays like a mentally disabled person with an accent, and it was not easy going. So, and then I realized there's plenty of people you see do accents, and you're like, not great, but still not a bad performance, right?
Right.
So I'm like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna do this accent. So I didn't know how to do it. So we get hold of a dialect coach who's a real good one, and she says, all right, there's not really a Texan accent. I'm like, I grew up in New Mexico, and you're wrong. So, but she said, there's a lot of different dialects. She goes, we're gonna do Lubbock. And I'm like, okay. And I'm gonna send you some video. and I'll send you phonetics to break down how you say things. And you'll watch the videos, and here's a key to how to say things. And I'm like, great, there's videos to be, that'll teach me how to speak Lubbock.
Yeah.
And these videos were just like weird, like not even interviews that were televised of Mac Davis. See, a few people, the right people laughed because they remember, most people have no point of reference for Mac Davis unless you have a certain age. So Mac Davis was this singer and songwriter and actor. He was in North Dallas 40 with Nick Nolte. Sure. He wrote, I think, In the Ghetto for Elvis. And he was sort of a popular singer in the 70s. Like he had a big hit with Baby, Baby, Don't Get Hooked on Me. Okay. Great, yeah. So my dad had the 8-track in the car, but to me, that's like the weirdest like, how do you fucking decide? Like, she decided, like, there's only one place to go for the Lubbock.
Obviously. Classic Lubbock.
Got to pull those Mac Davis interviews, for like the Grammy Awards, whatever. So, but that's that story. So I tried it, and I think I did all right. And I had no idea this thing was going to get this much attention, right? I thought, like, maybe no one will see it, and I had nothing.
Do you feel like a pawn in this media game, Mark? Because you were just trying to spread the good word of a lovely performance from your friend, Andrea.
Fuck the Academy, and fuck the consultants that run these campaigns. It was all a divide and conquer rigged thing to draw attention that they fucking failed. Right. So fuck them. But and then the Academy was like, I don't know what we do. What do we do? There's optics around this, and so they, like, if you want to fix something around the voting on social media, just fix it for next time. Don't, Andrea Riceborough, and I've said all this already. It doesn't matter. I've said it all already. She is not the kind of actress that gives a fuck about this shit. And then she's now all of a sudden the one, she gets this beautiful thing, and it's so toxic and loaded, and it's just sort of like, she didn't want anything to do with this. Yeah. But she deserves it.
The good side is, and I'll be honest, I watch a ton of movies. It slipped by me, and now I've seen it, and I know.
It didn't slip by you. There was nowhere to see it.
Yeah.
Well, literally. I mean, like, I had to see it at a screening, so. But all I know is that in the big picture, like, I know that I watched myself in that movie, and I'm like, I did a good job. I did all right. I'm happy with it. I have no problems. I could have made a couple choices differently, but nobody knows that. So anything that comes back to me, I'm like, all I'm thinking is like, thank God I didn't suck, because if I'd gotten this much attention and I sucked, I don't know if I could live with it.
For most of us, learning a second language in high school or college was not exactly a high point in our academic careers. I know it wasn't for me. I tried Italian, I tried French, and none of it stuck. But now, thanks to Babbel, the language learning app that sold more than 10 million subscriptions, there's an addictively fun and easy way to learn a new language. Whether you'll be traveling abroad, connecting in a deeper way with family, or you just have some free time, Babbel teaches bite-sized language lessons that you'll actually use in the real world. I'm doing Italian because I love to travel and I love going to Italy, and I want to engage the culture in a little bit of a more profound and meaningful way. And yeah, I want to be able to order better in Italian restaurants, okay? Babbel's 15-minute lessons make it the perfect way to learn a new lesson and language on the go. Other language learning apps use AI for their lesson plans, but Babbel lessons were created by over 100 language experts. Plus, you can choose from over 14 different languages, including Spanish, French, Italian, and German. There's so many ways to learn with Babbel. They've got lessons that you can access, podcasts, games, videos, stories, and even live classes. Plus, it comes with a 20-day money-back guarantee. Right now, when you purchase a 3-month Babbel subscription, you'll get an additional 3 months for free, guys. That's 6 months for the price of 3. Just go to Babbel.com and use promo code HSC. That's BABBEL.com, code HSC.
Let's run through some wonderful questions from our audience. You ready?
And whoever's reporting for whatever, you don't have to re-quote me about the two Leslie thing. And then Maron said, so, okay.
Mark, how many cats is too many?
The 1 and 3, which I have. That's the limit.
Point? Yeah.
No, like my ex-girlfriend Sarah had like 9. It was like a little rough. They were all feral. That was crazy. She's okay.
Andrea wants to know, how do you prepare for your interviews? They seem so organic. Well, I'm selfishly curious about this because this is what I do too. Like, what's in front of you? Are there a lot of notes? Do you do a lot of prep? What's the balance? What do you?
No, I try to, like, as time went on, I tried to at least, watch the thing they were there to plug.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, like, they know it's a career, it's a broad interview. They know it's long form. They know what they're getting into. But I find that that sometimes, like, people, maybe I don't know them that well or don't know their stuff that well, but, like, it's a good way to sort of lube up the conversation when you're like, yeah, I watched the new thing, and blah, 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 and they're like, ah, and then you're like, then you're in, So, but ultimately, I don't prepare other than get a sense of who I think the person is.
Right.
Right. So, and usually I'm kind of off, but it all depends on my feelings for the person, and then after I see their work, like a lot of times I'm introduced to people because I've agreed to talk to them, which is great because everything's really kind of fresh, when and sometimes I'm amazed that I didn't know more about them. So it's really about getting a sense of who they are, and then somehow or another there's some weird thing in my brain that, like, right up until, like, they come over, like, there'll be some, like, weird key or some weird thing that I'll be like, oh, that's the portal into where I'm gonna, figure it all out. And it changes for every person, but usually there's this sort of, like, this moment that I engage with personally in my mind, and I can see a conversation unfolding from it. So I hope that helps you.
Yeah. Is Albert Brooks the one that said no the most? I feel like he's the white whale right now.
Well, but after a certain point, it's like, fuck it. Like,
if you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. What am I going to do? I can't.
Well, I mean, I don't know what his problem is. Like, and I've seen him a couple of times.
Right.
Like, he came up to me at fucking Gary Shandling's memorial, which was hilarious. Relax. Kevin Nealon has never been funny. Go find that. Oh my God, hilarious. So, but it was a big, beautiful thing, and I sat next to a very fragile seeming Tom Petty with his translucent hand skin. So, but, like, I'm at the memorial and I'm walking out, everyone's walking out, and I felt like two hands from behind me grabbed my shoulders, and I turn around and Albert Brooks is there wearing a golf hat, and he goes, "Let's do it now!"
Like, ran to the trunk of your car, let me get my equipment?
He was making a joke.
As a fellow member of the tribe, what are your thoughts on circumcision? Amanda wants to know.
I had it done, and I was given no choice.
Right.
But I'm happy about it. I like the way it looks. It works well. But the only story I heard about mine is my mother says, we used your grandfather's, Grandpa Ben's moil, and it took so long. Maybe that's why I'm like I am.
I think it's multi-factor.
Yeah.
Brian wants to know, what are you eating during this trip to NYC?
Well, I'm trying to stay with the no meat thing. Like, so what did I eat? Brendan and I went to that dirt candy place.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll put it on my
Because a lot
list.
of times, like, fancy vegan or vegetarian food, it seems like it's it's missing a component.
Right.
Right? Like, it's trying to be something it can't, and you're sort of like, it'd be nice if this was, meat.
Yep.
So, right? But this place is like, everything's sort of like, oh my God, this is so layered and, different. It's brilliant. And so I ate that, and then I went, like, I don't really know how to eat vegetarian, like, thoroughly well. And, like, yesterday I was starving, and I'm like, I can't go. Where can I go, man? And, like, so I'm like, oh, I'll just go to Yona Schimmel's. And so I went to Yona Schimmel's, and, like, no one goes in there. You walk by that place, it's like, is that even open?
Yeah. It has not been remodeled in 95 years.
Yeah, and now you can't even sit in there, and it's just like a weird counter with no cooking elements anywhere, with fucking trays of knishes. And I'm like, I guess it's open. So I go in there. I got a sweet potato knish and then a red cabbage knish. And the guy goes, you want them hot? And I'm like, yeah. And I just see him stick them in a microwave. I'm like, all right, sorry. So I'm like, that's enough with the heat. And I just stood there on Allen Street in the park, and I just shoved 2 knishes into my face.
Wow.
And then I went to Whole Foods, and there were 2 guys in there. This is the fucking beautiful New York thing. Like, they're like, at Whole Foods, like, I go in there and I sit at a table. I have coffee because I'm trying to read Tim Blake Nelson's new book. And because I had him on and I hadn't finished it yet, and I felt bad about it, but it's better off that I didn't finish it because I couldn't spoil it. So there's these 2 guys who like recognize me, but they're just sitting there drinking glasses of water at the coffee shop at Whole Foods. And I had a bottle of water. He's in there like, have you tried the water here? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I got a spigot, you know, and they're like, it's the best water in New York. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, that spigot is triple filtered and you get sparkling too. And they're like, that's all we come for. We don't even get coffee. And I'm like, do you have to pay for it? Like, no, you just get it. And I'm like, so you guys just come here to drink water? It's like, yeah. And I was like, this is fucking such a New York trip. Like,
beautiful.
I had the water. It's great water. It's sparkling water right there. You can just have it. They were right, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no.
What was the question?
I don't know. But
What am I eating?
You're eating.
Oh, yeah. So I ate that, and then today I went to Mogador and had some stuff, and then tomorrow, oh God, tomorrow I'll go into, like somehow or another, I was gonna have dinner with Lipsight, right? And I ran into Kate Berlant on the street yesterday, and she invited me to her show, and the last night is tonight. So, and she's like, you gotta come to my show. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, Bruce Wagner is flying out tomorrow to come to my show. And I'm like, Bruce Wagner's gonna be here? And Bruce Wagner's a trip, man. So now somehow or another, I'm going to dinner with Bruce Wagner and Sam Lipsight tomorrow at that weird culty Indian vegetarian place down, you know, the one down on Thompson, Ananda or something? Have you been there? I've been there once with Sarah because she was a vegetarian, but it's definitely a front of some cult. And I thought, like, Bruce is gonna love this. So I'm looking forward to that. And don't show up.
No. Monica.
I had a guy do that from Instagram. Like, it was so tragic in a way.
For you or for him or both?
It's just like, you know, I must have been on Instagram. I said, I'm going to go hike with my friend Dan now. And I'm hiking with Dan, but I knew this guy.
Boundaries, Mark.
Well, he was a yoga teacher I had. So like years ago. And me and Dan are just hiking up this hill and I hear this guy huffing up behind me like, Mark! And I'm like, Joe? He's like, yeah, I saw you were hiking, so I thought I'd join you. Is that okay? I guess it is. But I had to tell Joe, slightly inappropriate, Joe.
Let's end with this from John B.
What do we got to end? What's going on? I'm up.
Okay, hey, we'll keep going.
I was punchy and now I'm up. Just get on with it. Let's do it. What, do you have a time limit on your podcast?
I want to be respectful of your busy schedule eating all the meats and food of New York.
It's fucking like 8:30.
Right,
I mean, I got to eat and I got to sleep. I don't know
You guys have anywhere to go? Are we good? Okay.
A couple of people are like, I've kind of had enough. It's late.
Rwanda wants to know, Mark, would you ever consider doing...
I thought there was going to be a question about Rwanda. I'm like, maybe we should stop.
Rwanda wants to know, Mark, would you ever consider doing a film on your life story? Obviously, you mind material on the TV show, but...
would that be a good movie?
I don't know.
I'm asking that seriously. I don't know if it would be. You know, I don't know. Stephen Feinartz, the guy who directed this special, who did a great job, he's been making a documentary on me for like 2 years now. Like he's been.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So maybe that'll help you with. Maybe that'll will be enough. Like, I don't know. It started with him. I just think it's going to be interesting to see how you develop your new hour post COVID and after Lynn passed away, and now it's like it's open ended, and he's
just going to be with you for life.
I guess he's got. And then like, well, you got this gig. I'm like, I guess you should direct the special. You're here, so.
What happened? Have you returned to the script that you and Lynn were working on together? Have you considered going back to it?
Some guy keeps bothering me about that. And like a friend of hers, and I sent a draft. The odd thing, the truth of the matter about that script, the story is good, but it's heavy, dude, and it deals with somebody in the script who dies of cancer, and oddly, there are moments in the script that were frighteningly similar to what Lynn went through that last week, and it's too fucked up and weird for me to deal with in that way, and because I don't know what that means for mysticism, but whatever. So, but the thing is like that script oddly served, and this is, I think I can say it, like she wanted to make a movie with me, which ultimately became sort of trust because we never finished the script, but that script was how we built our relationship, was meeting to write. So like that script over the years just became this thing we never finished, but we were able to spend all this time together. And so it really represents that more than it does, a movie. And that was how developing the material went.
Yes. A sneak peek into the process. Well, then I am going to end
back down again.
No, he's back. He's back, guys. Don't worry.
It's a gift.
Do you have John B. wants to know, and this is a good one to close out. Do you have a good sense for how cool everyone in this audience thinks you are, Marc?
When people interview me about my audience, I usually say I don't have a demographic, I have a disposition. So I believe that what you're saying is true, and I believe that what the people that come to see me are an extension of my emotions in a way that, like, because like I don't, in a very specific way, like, because like when you're a comic of a certain type, which is a regular kind of comic, I know my audience represents who I am in a way. So that's a weird boundaryless thing to say. So I know how cool you think I am, but I also know you have problems. And I appreciate
it. To paraphrase your own podcast, how do we do, Marc? Are we good?
We are good, Josh. Good job. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Everybody, Marc Maron, spread the good word from Bleak to Dark, HBO Max. Thank you, man. Perfect. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.